TRC James witch hunt woman 90 narrates ordeals in the hands of witch hunters. Barrow pledges more development for Nyomi Badibo. First cruise ship arrives in Tunis since 2015 killing of tourists. These and more coming on the World Today News. It's 1400 GMT here in our studio in Banjul. You are watching the World Today Bulletin. I am Fatmata Jaju and now the news in detail. A 90-year-old woman from Jambur village said Jamis witch hunters forcefully dragged her out of her point of selling peanuts in her shop, forcing her to swallow concoction prepared by ex-President Jammeh. Masiri Bojang was speaking in testimony before the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission on Wednesday on events leading to her experience in being forced to swallow concoction prepared by former President Yahya Jammeh. Madam Bojang, who spent the night in Kololi with the witch hunters, said she has been battling with illness ever since she drank the concoction in 2009. Let's listen to her in this insert.
From the moment I drank the medicine, that was the time when this stomach pain attacked me. And from then on, up to this moment, I am still suffering.
She said she is still suffering from the effect of the concoction as it has made a permanent label on her in the village. Still on TRRC, yesterday a woman targeted by the Jammeh witch hunt exercise of 2009 began testimonies of the horror and pain as TRRC sittings continue in the village of Jambur. One of the women was Fatu Sow, an elderly woman who was arrested right in her kitchen. She expressed hell of the concoction that the Jammeh witch hunters forced her to drink. Let's go with this report.
Witch hunters of exile former President Yahya Jammeh put cups on the hands of Fatu Sow of Galaya village at her very busy moment preparing lunch for her family. She was pointed at as wizard by men and women in the army and green youths working directly under the commands of the former president. She told the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission on Tuesday.
Inada yam konton yoni ki ittu mini horam de ndar je da ngam ko wuli ni ngeejube taw me dum ko bageji bodeji galade ni kala muta ko ni mu fa wulan wolledi anen binolu bageji bodeji galadi be gonde sukabe worbe be bakki pikaseji an
The elderly woman narrated that she would never buy into the arrest warrant of the witch hunters, but she had no option as there were armed men among them.
Why did you feel that you had no choice?
Her testimony came under the second of public hearing outside the usual Dunes Hotel by the TRC. The commission has since Monday been stationed in Jambur, West Coast region. The witch hunt exercise in 2009 victimized some hundreds of people, mainly the elderly who the former president allegedly referred to as witches or wizards. They were forced to swallow concoctions that would render them unconscious. Reporting for Africa News, I am Amadou Kante.
Fatou Sow appeared before the Truth Commission yesterday narrating her ordeal during the ex-president's witch hunt exercise. Now, 3 days into the President Adama Barrow's nationwide tour to dialogue and assess impact of government policies on the lives of the people, the presidency is boasting of tremendous crowd in support of his leadership. The entourage crossed the Bara-Banjul River on Monday to begin with the Nyomi and the Badibu areas where Barrow promised to construct new roads and inject in more social amenities. This is his third time in response to constitutional mandate to dialogue with the people since assuming office in January 2017. Altogether, the tour caters for 44 public meetings and spot visits to development projects relating to agriculture, education, health, and youth entrepreneurship. Throughout the country, Barrow is expected to use the opportunity to reiterate his call for unity, social cohesion, and harmony in the pursuit of peace, security, and socio-economic and political progress of the country. He will also engage members of the public on the National Development Plan with a view to marketing his priority areas. We now go for a break and come back shortly.
tegla yo foda oda atabuka sonna tegla ke oda atabuka sonna ka tegola atabuka sonna tegla ke Gambia be tulo be lori menna kabiri sanjuma imamoyno sina moy waton be wala kono yalong ñi on the 23rd November ñi 2019 sang memba kono te gisul men ka den kilo la men ka fo jalika isi mo nyamano wala be tulum baso to la independence bara ayeto nyama ku chanjama wala bi bari kam men foto nyama ñing gisulu kam men maji ay denki non dum gambia fangole tam dum gambia non le tam so ko men ngel non kabin ka to foko ina gambia be nga findi nga stadium mo fandite wallahi surwal ka fo men nako so baye sa anda bo dem feka fo borom so ñunu bi su ñu mun to la andal wallahi ñu mun andal nga tanga stadium mo fandite 23 November 2019 stadium mo to ndo den datula ko mat dekatale ke bare kula ndafa mata den la bari ndam woli ñaw yalo hay bari bi ya
if you wish me well, I will wish you well.
Welcome back. We remind you that you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. We now take a look at our remaining stories. The national budget as presented by the Minister of Finance before the National Assembly this week shows more expenditure than revenue. The country, by the projection for the 2020 fiscal year, is still relying heavily on foreign aids, despite the failure in the side of key partners in the names of European Union and World Bank to fulfill pledges for the year ending. As Bulletin reports, the debt plan for next year has jumped to $9 billion from its previous figures of $4 billion.
The Gambia is set to increase its domestic borrowing to $3.9 billion in 2020, which represents 4% of the gross domestic product compared to $1.2 billion in 2019. The country's debt to GDP in 2018 reached 86%, a dismissal fall from the 2017 budget which had it at 87% of the GDP. The country's debt to GDP is projected to trend around 50% in 2020, according to the Trading Economics Global Macro Models and analyst expectations. Debt interest payment is projected to consume around 40% of government's tax revenues in 2020 compared to 26% in 2019, meaning that interest payments will move from $2.7 billion to $4.6 billion. The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mambure Njai, told lawmakers on Monday that budget support from key partners such as the EU and the World Bank have not materialized despite the startling pledges in 2019.
The projected budget support from the European Union and the World Bank, which comprises the bulk of our estimated support for this year, have not materialized as at end September. In addition, we are also in advanced negotiation with the French government for the potential budget support to the tune of €2 million. We nevertheless still expect the EU 22 million euros support before the end of the year. Meanwhile, the World Bank budget support is unlikely to materialize due to slippages emanating from non-realization of our certain development policy operations targets.
Debt servicing in the 2020 budget has jumped to $9 billion compared to $4.3 and $4.7 billion in 2018 and 2019 respectively. For iAfrica News, I am Julden Njai.
The Gambia's 2020 budget sends a strong alert as the country still relies heavily on foreign aid. Now, 1 month after Egypt announced the return of food subsidy for nearly 2 million people, businesses in the country are busy in the enforcement of the program. A total of 1 million Egyptians who were previously removed from the food staples system have been returned since September in response to directions from President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. As we feature in this report, members of the food subsidies program are entitled to packages of rice and pasta by just tendering a subsidy card. For more, we go with this report.
Mohammed is a father of 3. He's a government employee with a minimum wage. He comes here every 2 weeks with his ration card to receive subsidized food.
It's easy to use like the bank ATM card. The ration card informs the shop of the amount I'm allowed to buy every month, and then I choose the goods I want. There's a wide variety of products like olives, vegetables, all types of cheese, oil, sauce, even meat, and much more to get at low prices.
Bread has always been an integral part of the food subsidies. A loaf of bread costs 55 Egyptian cents to produce. It is sold for only 5 cents by the government.
The subsidies on food has reached about $6 billion, which is about 5.3% of the GDP. There's been an increase of about 2% more than the year before, according to the economic reforms. There are specialized committees to ensure that shops sell at the subsidized prices.
Over half of Egypt's 100 million people have ration cards. Food subsidies eat out a third of the state budget every year. And the government has been reviewing the list of those on ration cards. It says many who are well off are still receiving subsidies and should be cut off.
There's new criteria in place for those who have gotten their ration cards revoked, those who own a car, those who have high electricity and mobile consumption bills, and those who send their children to private schools and have high salaries. They have not been allowed to renew their ration cards.
Officials believe the new system would ensure subsidies would go to its rightful owners. The cancelled ration cards will save millions of dollars for the state budget, and the government says the money saved will go into better quality services for the low-income earners, such as education and health.
Egypt brings back its subsidy program with the issuance of subsidy cards. The 18th year of Africa's biggest mass run catered for 36 minutes for elites and 2 hours on the walk lane, with some others dancing on the streets of Addis Ababa. Founded in 2001 by the most successful distance runner of all time, Haile Gebrselassie, the Great Ethiopian Run is 10 kilometers of running merriment looping through the streets of central Addis Ababa. At the front, the race could hardly be more competitive, but winners consistently go on to have successful international careers, showing Ethiopia's outstanding pool of talents. The event featured up to 44,000 participants. There's more.
This is the Great Ethiopian Run, packed every year with several categories of runs, from elite athletes to charity and other events. This year, like other years, the main event of both male and female professional athletes was glorious, the competition intense. Then, on the men race, Barihu Arga finished the 10 kilometers first in 28 minutes 22 seconds 18, and it was Yalam Zaf Yohalo who was victorious at a time of 31 minutes 54 25 seconds in the female category.
I had goals of finishing this race in the 3rd place, not first. All the athletes here were strong competitors. In the end, I have given it all that I have, and I have finished first. I am happy.
Last year, I stood 5th. This year, however, after a tough year long work, I have managed to stand first. I am excited.
Most of the local 45,000 people and the foreigners were running for a cause or just for fun. Some were creative to excite or educate. For all, however, this was memorable beyond words.
In simple terms, this is a uniting event.
This great run is all about beauty and togetherness. Ethiopia is recognized for its skilled athletes, but beyond that, this has showcased the feelings of the people.
Togetherness and love. This is what I felt today. We want more of these kinds of fun events.
The organizers say the Great Run is more than an event, a race or fun.
This year, we have started Flings things 6 weeks ahead of the main event. We had, for instance, Road Safety Day, Volunteers Day, and we have organized training for members every week. We did a lot to give back to the community.
More than 500 international participants from over 20 countries, including professional athletes from Eritrea, Kenya and Uganda, have taken part in this year's Great Ethiopian Run. Kenya's Helen Obiri was the guest of honor.
Ethiopian people in high excitement there. Now in Tunisia, the first cruise ship on Tunisian coast since 2015 arrived on Thursday, carrying over 1,000 passengers. According to the port of El Goulet, this is the first cruise ship on Tunisian shores since the terrorist attack at the Bardo Museum in Tunis, in which 22 tourists were killed. The country's Minister of Tourism and Handicrafts welcomed the disembarking tourists from Malta and Italy.
The Minister of Tourism, René Trabelsi, welcomed the return of cruises, considering that the burden of the cruise ship Amira at the port of La Goulette will boost tourist activity in the country.
All passengers have agreed to visit the city. This is a positive sign and a good beginning for the activity of cruises in the country.
The minister stressed that the state will work to strengthen the promotion of maritime tourism, particularly at the Sea Trade Miami Global, to be held in April 2020 in Miami.
Our approach also aims to attract cruise tourism to other cities and ports on the Tunisian coast. The average spending of cruise passengers is estimated at $220 per day. We aim to attract tens of thousands in the next few months.
Some German tourists are visiting and discovering Tunisia for the first time, while other travelers are returning to the North African country, where security has improved over the past 4 years.
The people here are open and welcoming, and security is guaranteed.
I see it as a progressing country, and I keep my fingers crossed for all the, all the plans you have, especially for the political part and for the unemployment programs. So I keep my fingers crossed.
According to the director of the tourist village port of La Goulette, Tunisia will have to accommodate nearly 10 cruise ships in 2020. For 2021, the forecasts are for a recovery in the growth rate of cruise tourism. In 2010, Tunisia was a privileged destination for international cruise ships. The North African country had welcomed nearly 900,000 tourists, with an average of 2 cruise ships per week.
After being ranked 7 among top 10 countries to visit and explore, Tunisia receives its first cruise ship. Well, viewers, that's all we have for you on the World Today News. For more on these and other stories, kindly log on to our website, iafrica.tv. Do also follow our subsequent bulletin and also stay tuned for our live broadcast of the TRC sittings.